strange depression recipes that actually taste good. Can you think of a family meal that could cost less than $5? I bet you can't. But that was what the Depression era was all about, making magic in the kitchen with pretty much little to nothing. The Depression era meal was not about feeding the eyes, as you'll find out, but everyone slept with a full stomach, and that was all that mattered. In this video, we will get into a few strange Depression era recipes that tasted good. Don't be surprised if you find out that you've eaten an improvised version of one of these in a classy restaurant. Life is about innovation, isn't it? The Hoover Stew. We will begin with the famous Hoover Stew. You don't need Google to find out the most hated man during the Depression era. He has a stew to his name, the Hoover Stew. Hoover was blamed for the happenings that led to the Depression era. It was not surprising that his name found its way into the pots in most households. Perhaps they wished they could boil him away. Can't say for sure. The Hoover Stew was not pretty, and it didn't have an exact set of ingredients. You could substitute plenty of things from the original recipe with no actual damage done. All you needed was some noodles or macaroni, corn, tomatoes, beans, peppers, some sausages, or whatever works as a substitute. That's pretty much it. Sardine Salad Sandwich. Sardine salad sandwiches were not just cheap, but easy to make. It served as a breakfast for most families and even a nutritious lunch pack to remind one of the pre-Depression days. Ingredients included a tin of sardines, of course, some lettuce, a quarter lemon, finely chopped stalk of celery, and any seasoning available. To prepare, you mash the sardines in a plate, squeeze in drops of lemon, add the celery, and lay it all up into a sandwich. Enjoy! The Poor Man's Cake. Next on our list is the Poor Man's Cake. Yes, it was the Great Depression, but people still wanted little pans of joy where they could find them. The Poor Man's Cake was the perfect recipe for the poor. It was also called the War Cake, Depression Cake, or even the Pumpkin Spice War Cake. To make the cake, you needed simple ingredients like raisin, sugar, flour, some butter, a little baking powder, soda, and some cinnamon. You pour the raisin and some sugar into a pot, put it on the fire, and bring it to a boil. When this is done, let it sit and cool. Then, you mix all the dry ingredients. Pour in the raisin moisture when it's cool, stir everything. Pour it into a pan and bake. That's it! Your pan of cheap golden goodness is ready. Potato Peel Soup. In some households, specific days were for meatless meals. Pretty depressing, which is why the potato peel soup was such a great option, especially with the paprika that added a bit of the missing bacon flavor. It might sound disgusting to you now, but the Depression days were all about making the best of whatever was available. Potatoes, both sweet and Irish, were available in large quantities and quite cheap for the poor, so they created a lot of recipes from them. The potato peel soup was made of chopped onions, carrots, potato peels, and some water. Think whatever you will, but this made a hearty lunch for more than a few households in the Depression era. Dandelion greens and potatoes recipe. Still on the subject of potatoes, let's talk about the potato and dandelion greens recipe. While all the Depression meals were cheap, some were even cheaper than most, and this recipe is one of them. Some families got the dandelion greens for free for picking them from the field, and they would use this to make a nice meal with their potatoes. Like almost every meal on this list, the ingredients required are very few. Some Irish potatoes, dandelions, onion, garlic, butter, and a dash of lemon for that zest. Stir fry in a pot, and dinner is ready to be served. If you check out some restaurant menus, you can actually find the dandelion greens and potato meal, but definitely not in the Depression era style. The Poverty Pie. Next up on our list is the famous Poverty Pie. From its frugal recipe to its infamous name, nothing screams Depression era than the Poverty Pie. The Poverty Pie was made even in supposed rich households with maids and all other forms of help. Pretty much, everyone did what they could to scrimp and save and, most importantly, survive the times. All you needed to make the Poverty Pie was a little milk, sugar, flour, eggs, and some pie crust. Make a regular batter and bake. The Water Pie. If you think you had it all with the Poverty Pie, I hate to break it to you, but there's the Water Pie. You heard right. Let's chalk it all up to the Great Depression era. The Water Pie has as its main ingredient the one thing a pie should never have in large quantity: water. You literally pour water into a pie crust, Sprinkle in your flour already mixed with other ingredients and some blocks of butter on it. Then you let it sit for a few minutes before putting it in the oven. The result may not have looked so good, but who cares about looks when they are starving, right? Turkey carcass soup. We can't finish this video without at least one meat recipe that was created in the Depression era, so let's get into the turkey carcass soup. You hate the name, I know. Remember, depressed people came up with it, so we must get past that. The turkey carcass soup was more about making sure that the turkey that died accidentally or by disease was not wasted. The best way to think of it was that Thanksgiving came early, so turkey was either eaten deliberately on Thanksgiving Day or accidentally on any other day. Either way, the recipe was the same. Halloween goulash. Since turkey was covered for Thanksgiving Sunday, they still needed something cheap for Halloween, and then came Halloween goulash. With the goulash recipe, Halloween was a done deal. All that was needed was some butter, a large onion, steamed meat, carrots, diced tomatoes, and a little paprika for taste. Stir-fry the mixture first, then cook. Food is ready. You can even invite some ghouls for dinner. Haluski, cabbage and noodles. At this point, we can all agree that the Depression-era meals will not score any points on the looking good scoreboard. What was important was to spend as little as possible on a meal, which is why this $1 recipe was a massive hit. Let's talk about that cabbage and noodles meal. Actually, there's nothing to talk about because that pretty much sums up the ingredients. Throw in a little butter and a ball of onion. Food is ready. Finally, let's talk about the famous garbage plate. The garbage plate was a Depression-era inclusivity tactic. Anything and everything were allowed on the plate, which is where the name comes from. So if you had any weird leftover hot dog, beans, corn, whatever it was, the garbage plate was the place for it. We've reached the end of our fascinating list of strange Depression-era recipes that turned out to be surprisingly delicious. Were they unusual? Absolutely. Did they taste good? Without a doubt. It's incredible to think about the tough times that gave rise to these unique dishes. So the next time you're inspired to cook something special, take a moment to appreciate the history behind it. Thank you for watching. If there's a specific topic you'd like us to cover, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you'll be the first to know when our newest videos are released.